Welcome you all in this series of lectures on psychopharmacological therapy. Today is the last lecture in this series that will cover the two classes of the psychotropic drugs, namely the mood stabilizers and psychostimulants. First, I will cover the mood stabilizers. They are also called anti-manic drugs because these drugs are used in treating mania. Mood stabilizers, as I said, are also labeled as anti-manic drugs and used primarily for bipolar disorders, either bipolar 1 or bipolar 2, and even cyclothymic disorders. The mood stabilizers were introduced by the observation that a particular salt called lithium, it was found to be effective in treating both the high elated mood found in manic condition and the low, gloomy, blue, sad, depressive mood found in major depressive disorders. And therefore, the term mood stabilizer was given to such drugs. And naturally, lithium was the first choice of drug for decades for treating bipolar disorders. But later on, other mood stabilizers, particularly belonging to a class of anticonvulsants, were found to be more helpful in regulating mood. And now several medicines are available as mood stabilizers. But still, lithium is also used for stabilizing mood or for treating mania, but under certain specific conditions. The three primary agents most frequently used as most stabilizers include lithium, valproic acid, valproate, and carbamazepine. These are three most commonly used drugs. But compared to lithium, the last two drugs, that is valproic acid, VA, and carbamazepine, they have been used most frequently compared to lithium, and therefore they are witnessing an increase in use. And the valproic acid has also been approved by the FDA. The use of anticonvulsants like valproic acid or carbamazepine is based on certain observation. First, combining these medicines or medications have been found beneficial in selected patients. And further, they are also more effective for specific subtypes of bipolarity. So, bipolar disorders are of various types, and these were found to be very effective in certain specific types of bipolarity. And I will discuss in next slide that these two medicines have fewer side effects also. But before going to that, let us understand the indications for what therapeutic purpose they are used. The mood stabilizers are basically used for treating all types of bipolar disorders where the mood is cycling between depression and elation, depression and mania. So it has been used successfully in the treatment of bipolar 1 disorders, and you all know that bipolar 1 disorder is characterized by episodes of mania and depression. Similarly, bipolar 2 disorder is also found to be responsive to this medicine, and bipolar 2, hypomania interpressed with episodes of major depression. Similarly, cyclodymia and cyclodhymic personality disorders, they also respond to mood stabilizers. And if hypomania or mania is drug induced, even then mood stabilizers are prescribed and they have been found to be helpful in stabilizing the mood. Though it is largely used for treating mania, but sometimes mood stabilizers are also used when other medicines of depression do not work or patient do not respond to those medicines. Such patients are called treatment resistant. Such condition is called treatment resistant depression. And under that condition, mood stabilizers are also prescribed. It is also used as prophylactic medicines for bipolar disorder, and I have already described that prophylactic medicine means any medicine that reduces the chance of relapse and recurrence of a psychopathological condition. So, even if the patient is free of symptoms, this mood stabilizer is continued for a longer duration just as a prophylactic medicine to avoid recurrence or relapse of the bipolar condition. Generally, it is recommended that uh, these medicines should be continued for 24 months to avoid relapse or recurrence of the condition. But it depends on patients and many other conditions. Now, coming to the side effects. First, I will discuss the side effects of lithium because the side effect depends on the medicine used. The lithium is having several side effects, and some side effects are really harmful side effects, and therefore, many practitioners, as I mentioned earlier, they are preferring to prescribe VA and carbamazepine compared to lithium. The first side effect is that continued use of lithium may result in increased serum lithium level, and that may be harmful and toxic, and therefore when lithium is prescribed, the serum lithium test is generally prescribed on regular basis, and the clinician evaluates this level of lithium in the blood serum, and the dose of the lithium is moderated accordingly. Neurological side effects include tremors. So, if you are using lithium, tremors may occur, and generally it occurs very early and sometimes it occurs a little late. Long term use may also sometimes induce hypothyroidism. And another serious side effect is that long term use has also been found to affect the renal function, the function of the kidney, and some atrophy in the kidney or kidney damage may also occur if not properly monitored. So, because of these severe harmful effects, lithium is less prescribed as compared to VA and carbamazepine, but it does not mean that lithium is out of favor. Still, lithium is one gold standard in the category of mood stabilizers, and this salt is very helpful if the patient is having very high aggressive tendency. So, if high aggression and agitation is there, to control that aggressive tendency, lithium is considered good. And in the last, I will say, but I am saying right now that generally, if mood stabilizers are prescribed, some atypical neuroleptics are also prescribed, for example, risperidone. And it has been found that when the mood stabilizers are given with risperidone in bipolar conditions, particularly associated with agitation, aggression, or other psychotic symptoms, then the patient respond better and the efficacy of these medicine is increased. And the chance of relapse also reduces. The comparison of valproic acid with lithium, then the first thing is that as far as effectiveness is concerned, both VA and lithium they have been found to be equally effective. But valproic acid or valproate is better tolerated and is able to achieve rapid stabilization in acute manic episodes, generally within a couple of days, whereas lithium takes a little longer. Similarly, valproic acid has been found to be more effective in patients with rapid cycling, where the mood is swinging very rapidly between elation and sadness or depression. As I said earlier, lithium generally takes 3 to 4 weeks to bring therapeutic effects, whereas valproic start acting within a couple of days. The chance of relapse has also been found to be higher with lithium treatment as compared to valproic acid. But in recent studies have documented that when these two mood stabilizers are prescribed in combination with atypical neuroleptics like risperidone, then the chance of relapse is almost comparable for both medicines. Alternative supportive treatment, as I said earlier, that atypical antipsychotics are also used, and sometimes non-adrenergic agents like clonidine has also been used for getting rapid stabilization of the mood. Now, let us come to the last class, the sixth class of the psychotropic drugs used for treating mental disorder, and it is psychostimulants. Psychostimulants are a class of medicine that are used to treat hyperactivity. So, ADD, attention deficit disorder, ADHD, is the main indication of these psychostimulants. And they are referred to as psychostimulants because their administration or ingestion has been found to be associated with increased CNS activity in some regions of the brain. And therefore, they are basically CNS stimulants and called psychostimulants. As far as indication is concerned, these medicines were initially used for treating narcolepsy. You all know narcolepsy, it is a sleep disorder in which even people can sleep while talking, while walking. So, a very severe condition of sleep disorder. But nowadays, it is primarily used in the treatment of ADD or ADHD. And as far as the symptoms are concerned, they are helpful in targeting or treating the cognitive symptoms such as inattention, difficulty in concentration, irritability, and impulsivity. And these difficulties, are core difficulties in ADD and ADHD, and therefore these psychostimulants respond to these psychopathological conditions. But any other psychopathological condition having these conditions, this medicine can also help. Similarly, it is less frequently used, but it can be used for treating the major depression, which is treatment resistant. And similarly, the antidepressant has also been used. Probably I will be discussing in this that for treating ADD and ADHD when patients do not respond to psychostimulants. I will discuss the three FDA approved medicines for ADD and ADHD. The three medicines that are used are dextromethorphan, methylphenidate, and pemodine. These are the trade names: Dexedrine, Ritalin, Cyrate, and in Indian setup there are other trade names also. As far as the dose range is concerned, the dose of dextroamphetamine is 5 to 60, methylphenidate 5 to 80, and pemodine 18.75 to 112.5. As far as the half-life is concerned, the methylphenidate, which is the most widely used medicine, is having the shortest half-life. Its half-life is 2 to 4 hours, and therefore you can see the duration of effect is generally 2 to 4 hours. Whereas the other two medicines, they have the duration of effect from 3 to 5 hours or 5 to 8 hours. But this medicine is most frequently used, methylphenidate, and therefore the sustained release version or sustained release ESR formulation has been developed for this, and therefore this ESR formulation helps to cover up this half-life. So it is being released in a sustained continuous manner, and therefore the effect is little bit prolonged. One interesting thing to note about these medicines is that compared to other psychotropic medicines, they act very quickly within 1 or 2 days, as opposed to other psychopharmacological agents such as antidepressant, which takes 3 to 4, even 6 weeks. So this is one good thing. Side effects. One side effect is activation syndrome. Like antidepressant, SSRI is having activation syndrome as a side effect. These are also psychostimulants, CNS stimulants, and therefore activation syndrome is very likely. Patient may report nervousness, insomnia. The other side effect includes headache, upset stomach, and loss of appetite. Some patient reports some of the side effects, other patients reports others. However, these side effects generally lessen after few weeks of drug administration. Apart from this, there are some less common but serious side effects. For example, increase in blood pressure. It is not that common, but if it occurs, it is a serious side effect. Similarly, tachycardia can also be noted as a side effect of these medicines, less common. These medicines may alter the functioning of the liver. And one serious side effect has been noted in several studies that long time use can arrest the growth of the child. So this is really a very serious side effect because this medicine will then doing harm rather than benefit. There are certain difficulties or complications in prescribing psychostimulants because of the comorbidity often found with ADD and ADHD. Generally, such disorders are associated with occurrence of other psychopathological conditions in children and adolescents. For example, oppositional defiant disorder or conduct disorder, they are most often reported comorbid conditions with ADD and ADHD. Sometimes mood and anxiety disorders, learning disabilities, and so on and so forth. So, under this comorbid condition, the picture becomes more complex, and then it becomes really difficult to prescribe psychostimulants because psychostimulant will be working on one but maybe creating problem for the other comorbid condition. Another difficulty is the high rate of non-responders. Around 5 to 20% cases have been found that do not respond with these psychostimulants. The therapeutic effect is not observed in around 5 to 20% cases. Then, in those cases, as I said earlier, then clinician often switch to use of antidepressant. And similarly, when antidepressants do not work, then clinician generally switch to psychostimulants. Therefore, in prescribing these medicines, the overall benefit to risk ratio should be evaluated, and if the benefit is far more compared to the risk, then it is a good medicine and safe to use for treating ADHD. So with these brief presentation, I would end this lecture series, and I thank you all for your help and support in subscribing this channel, watching my videos, providing good feedback. And now in series of psychotherapy, I will try to upload lecture series on psychoanalysis, psychoanalytic therapy as soon as possible. Thanks again. Hope to see you soon in next lectures.